I'm gonna be at Grandma's house for a little bit.
If I
Good night.
belong, all will be
Nothing's gonna bother us. Not anymore. We have our son back.
when you're
We are a family again.
Hey guys, Lucas here again for an early review after a pretty long hiatus, not intentional, but the couple movies I tried to see just didn't end up working out, and I don't think that was a bad thing because most of the movies that released over the past couple weeks were terrible. So I'm glad I missed those. Unfortunately, I have been away from YouTube for a while, but I am back with you guys for an early review of Insidious Chapter 2. Insidious Chapter 2 has the same cast as the first, primarily have Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, the same little kid that was possessed in the first one, the actress that plays Patrick Wilson's mom, whose name I always forget, and of course it is directed by James Wan, who also directed a couple months ago The Conjuring. For my brief thoughts on the first Insidious movie, I thought it was a great horror movie until that third act. I thought the third act just got way too messy and just way too ridiculous and just kind of lost all the tension that was building in the first couple acts of that movie. That being said, I still think that's a really solid horror movie. But going into this, I didn't think the trailers looked good, and even though the first one kind of set up for a sequel, this one just felt like a cash grab to me. And the plot of this one, it concerns the family from the first one move into a different house this time, but there's something involving Patrick Wilson's character, or something involving the death of a previous character from the last film. I don't want to get too much into the plot, but expect the same kind of stuff happening in the first one going on with this. Unfortunately, my fears were kind of met, as this is a very, very mediocre horror film and definitely a weak sequel to a pretty strong original film. This movie definitely feels unnecessary. It definitely feels, like I said, like a cheap, cash grab, because these movies don't cost a lot of money and they make a lot of money. So let's throw another one out there, and there's just a lot wrong with this movie. One, just even the basic story, one reason why I don't even want to get into it is because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They keep revealing stuff throughout the movie. They keep adding these different layers and different characters that connect with this and connect with that. And the more there's literally stretches of like 5 minutes throughout this movie where I'm like, well, if that happens, then what does that mean? And that doesn't make sense. If that, you really have to go in like thinking this is just a really dumb horror movie. Otherwise, your brain is just going to be exploding throughout this thing. The acting in this one was a lot weaker. Usually, James Wan's movies are the best acted horror movies out there. That goes for The Conjuring that came out a couple months ago. That counts for the original Insidious. He usually gets good performances out of his actors, but I just felt like some of the people were here to play. Like, I thought Rose Byrne was good. I actually liked her kind of more in this one than I did in the first. And I also like he's a new character. He's one of the, like a veteran kind of paranormal investigator. Probably put his picture up right here. I liked him a lot. He was actually my favorite. But Patrick Wilson just seemed like he had a lot of trouble with this role. Including, and my whole screening audience were laughing very unintentionally when he was on screen. And that's another thing with this movie. It's just not scary, and I actually laughed a lot. Like, I laughed a lot more unintentionally in this movie than I have at some comedies in this year. Not something you want in a horror movie. And it's not even one of those dumb, like, oh, it's so cheesy and they know it's campy kind of laugh. It's like, ooh, they actually think that's creepy and scary, and that's not. They also had the duo that was also the paranormal investigators. They kind of have a bigger role in this one, and they're kind of the comedic relief. And I feel like they were funny, and two, whenever they would try to throw in a joke with them, I kind of could appreciate it, because I was like, you know what, a lot of horror movies are missing this. Like, they have good scares, but not a lot of humor. This one tried to do that, and I definitely appreciate that, but it just conflicted with the tone, and whenever they were trying to set up something serious or tense, their wisecracks just didn't work for me. It's not all terrible, though. James Wan, like I said, is still one of the best horror guys out there. I think that I feel like his spirit wasn't in this one, because it definitely feels like he made it because the studio wanted him to, but he still knows how to set up some tension, especially In the opening scene, I thought there was a lot of, that typical James Wan camera work that I really liked with the closed corridors and the emphasis on shadows and stuff like that. I thought that was cool, and there's a couple of good tense moments in here. Far and few between, but there are a couple. And one thing that I really like about the first Insidious, even though it goes into bonkers land in the last act, that movie had a really great sense of atmosphere and kind of enclosure. Like whenever I was in that movie or in the spirit world, in both these movies, I felt like I was there. I never felt like I was still in the regular world. I always felt transported to these places. I always feel like James Wan really creates great atmosphere in all his movies, and that's definitely present here. Unfortunately, though, I feel like this is a movie that's more funny than scary, which is definitely not something you want to hear. It's pretty bad, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I wasn't expecting much. I feel like maybe if you really want to see it, it's worth a rental, maybe on or just watch it on TV. But I really have to give Insidious Chapter 2 2 stars out of 5, and that's being a little bit generous. I say if you just want to see a good horror movie, go check out The Conjuring, which came out 2 months ago. It's directed by the same guy, and it's much, much better. I didn't get a chance to review that, but trust me, that is a much more superior film. If you've seen Insidious 2, what did you think of it? Were you disappointed? Did you like it? And if you liked it, were you a fan of the original or were you not? Let me know what you thought about that. If you like this review, please subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.
Get out of my head!
There's someone standing in front of you. He's talking to you.
What's he saying?
He's got your baby. 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 He's got your baby.
He's got your baby.